Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice, big 9-game NBA slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Keep in mind that the 2 late games will not be on this particular slate, which is something DraftKings has been doing so far. So let's go and get into the slate. We have a pretty extensive injury report as per usual lately. Um, So we're going to start with Toronto. The Quickly is doubtful. Barrett is questionable. Brown is out. Barnes, Abigi, and Dick would all get boosts here. For Memphis, Morant, Conchar are both questionable, and then Kennard is out. Pippen would get a boost if and a potential start if Morant is out. For the Knicks, Hart is questionable. Other starters will get a boost there if he's out. Boston, Porzingis is out, and Hauser is questionable. Horford and Cornette get boosts here. For Atlanta, Hunter and Bogdanovich are both questionable. Rishishar would get a boost if either guy is out. For the Spurs, Trey Jones and Vassell is out. Castle gets a boost at point guard, and Braham gets a boost with Vassell out. For Milwaukee, Middleton is out, and that gives Prince a boost. For Cleveland, Stress is out, and that gives Wade and Levert a boost. For Detroit, Ezra Thompson is out, and that gives Hardaway and Fonteseco a boost. For Washington, Brogdon and Bayer out. Carrington and CRISPR get small boosts there. And for Dallas, Cleaver is out, and that gives Gafford and Lively a boost as well. So as we look at the slate, we have 4 games that have pretty high totals. That's Washington, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Boston, and Chicago, Memphis, and Utah and Dallas. So keep that in mind. The other games are pretty low scoring, so do consider that when you go through your decision making process today. But if we look at our ballers here. Jamal Murray, though he is in a slower down game, he's got a very fantastic matchup here against Toronto, who struggled to when it comes to defense. And I look for him to have a monster game here. He's had some ups and downs throughout each season, but he has a high ceiling, and we know he can hit it at times. And I suspect that Denver is going to start winning some games here, even though they came out a little bit struggling so far. But I look for him to be a very good price point today and have some solid upside. Luka Doncic, also a great play at point guard. He has been phenomenal so far. And of course, we know he can flash the triple doubles and just the monster point games. And I think he's got a very favorable matchup here against Utah that's going to give him a lot of utility. Not only this is a high scoring game on the slate, so he's going to have a lot of upside here as well. Trey Young, also in a really solid spot. He did struggle yesterday in a tough defensive matchup, but he gets to come to against the weakest team scoring defense wise. So I think he's in a really solid spot here. He could also get double doubles and things. He's been getting lots of assists, and I think that's going to really boost his fantasy production today. He's still under 10K, which I think he'll be over 10K pretty soon. So just keep utilizing him for the time being. You could also consider Jalen Brunson, Kyrie Irving, and Tyler Hero at this position. Looking at shooting guards, Jamal Murray is the top overall position play here as well. But you could also consider Kyrie Irving, Tyler Hero, Zach LaVine, and Bilal Calabi. Excuse me. All those guys have some utility today. For the small forwards, Jason Tatum does come off the page as a decent play against Milwaukee, though he's going to have to deal with Giannis. But so far, he's been dominant in all 3 games this year, and he looks to continue that here, especially against a team that does tend to struggle defensively outside of Giannis. So I think he's going to be in a good spot there. Harrison Barnes for the Spurs. Oopsie, where is he? At $4,600 is a cheap play today that you can utilize. He's getting plenty of minutes. He's definitely an inconsistent player. He might be a little bit overpriced for his potential with that flow floor, but he definitely is capable of a decent game here. But you could also consider Michael Porter Jr., DeAndre Hunter, who's questionable, Kyle Kuzma, Zach LaVine, Franz Wagner, Bilal Calabi here as well. Looking at our power forwards, we do like Tobias Harris a lot today for Detroit. He looks pretty solid, though. He's in a tough matchup against Miami. His price point is pretty good, though, and he is capable of being pretty consistent even against tough teams. And we could look at his last 2 games, both against Cleveland, Boston, both very tough defensive teams, similar to Miami. And I think that he should be able to get that 25 to 35 fantasy point range again, though his price point is not super ideal. Jason Tatum can also play at this position, so can Harrison Barnes. But I want to talk about Jeremy Sochan here for the Spurs, as he is in a fantastic situation. His minutes are pretty high, and he's got a good situation here for this team right now being the starter. I think he's a little bit safer than Harrison Barnes. He is a little bit more expensive, but he has more scoring ability. Even though it's a kind of tough matchup, I think he's in a viable spot here to be a decent play. Also consider Michael Porter Jr., DeAndre Hunter, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Johnson, and Kyle Kuzma at this position. Look at our centers. We do like Joker a lot today. He has uh, that triple double machine every single game. If we look at the first two games of the year, he did get a triple double. Both games they lost. I expect that he's going to continue to dominate and get 60 plus fantasy points. He had 7 threes the last game. It's crazy. But I look for him to continue this type of play and continue to stretch that. I think he's a top tier option. Now you can be contrarian with Wimby, but Wimby really hasn't had his big game yet this season. He did score 29 against Houston, but this is a good matchup for him. And again, though, I don't think he's going to be as good or consistent early on, at least, as he's got to get going. But I do think he's capable of a solid big game here, and he definitely projects pretty well. Carl Towns finally looked a lot better in his second game against the Pacers, though he does have a tough matchup against the Cleveland Cavs today. But I do think he can score enough fantasy points to pay off here. I think he's going to get higher and higher as we go, and the price point. So probably good to get him while he's still cheap. Bam, meanwhile, has a fantastic matchup against for Miami against Detroit. Now, the late downturn here is that the way that these Miami plays is a little bit inconsistent with got different guys taking over each game, and they play slow down. So, but Bam does have that double double potential, and I think he can pay off in this matchup pretty well. Derek Lively for Dallas, uh, also in play for against Utah today. I think if he continues to play well, then he's going to increase his minutes a little bit more and have his fantasy output be higher. Though it's a kind of risky play on the slate, just in that perspective. Looking at our ownership here for point guards, Jamal Murray, Miles McBride, Russell Westbrook, Luka Doncic. For shooting guard, Murray, McBride, Stephen Castle, Colaby, and Zach Levine. For small forwards, Harrison Barnes, Stephen Castle, Belial Colaby, and Zach Levine. And then for power forwards, Harrison Barnes and Tobias Harris. And for center, Miles Turner. The top four sub 5,000 plays: Harrison Barnes, Carlton Carrington, uh, Carlson Carrington, PJ Washington, and then Belial Colaby. So, with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If